Okay, so today is our final day in Lisbon, and I really wanted to give you guys like a recap of our week and my overall thoughts on Lisbon in general as a place for digital nomads and a place like to live for, a couple months to long-term year plus. So we have had an incredible week, and I don't necessarily think maybe a week is enough time to really feel out of place. For some people, for me, like I kind of know by a feeling when I get there whether or not I would like to live there. Like it's just this instinctive feeling. And with Lisbon, like I'm gonna start off with saying most beautiful city, like such a cute, really pretty European city. It is colorful, it's like picturesque, unbelievably. It is definitely a gorgeous city to visit. Being on the water, it's really, really nice. I definitely think in summertime it would be such a good place to visit and go on the sailboats and like enjoy the summer sea and all that kind of thing. But in terms of size of the city, for me personally, it's a bit small. And I mean that because I like big cities. Like I grew up in New Jersey, right outside New York City, and I love New York City. Like that is my go-to city. And so I like a big city. And Lisbon just kind of felt a bit small to me. There's a few really cute neighborhoods, but they are quite small, and well, the like funicular thing, we actually live on the street where the funicular goes, so you'll hear it in a minute. It is quite loud and a little bit screechy. Of course today, like when I say that, it's like not as loud as it usually is. It's usually quite loud. But anyway, the neighborhoods are super, super cute. Like each one has its own little characteristics and stuff, but I would say it's like a few couple neighborhoods are a bit tiny. And we were walking around one of the neighborhoods that apparently a lot of expats and digital nomads live in. And I was like, all right, I really want to see if like this neighborhood just changes my mind on Lisbon, because we were definitely in a very touristy area where we're staying. And obviously that's not normal like life. Just like in Barcelona, I wouldn't live in the Gothic quarter in like the Mayhem area. Same as here. So we wanted to check out some areas where more expats live, a little bit farther outside from like the actual true crazy tourist center zones. So we went and walked down those neighborhoods, and it's gorgeous. Like the buildings are really nice, it's clean, it's cute. But I have to say, like, there just wasn't a lot going on in the neighborhood. There's a few very handful, like, cute bars and restaurants. But for me, I don't know. Like I said, I love a big city. So I like to see a lot going on. And I think for me, Lisbon just lacked a little bit of that. And we went to some cafes to co-work and stuff that were recommended online. And they are just tiny little cute cafes. But... And I don't want to shit on Lisbon. Like it is such a good city. It truly is. And like it's gorgeous. And I would come back here to visit any day. But I have a different mentality when I was visiting here this time. It was kind of like more on the day-to-day life and more on the actual living terms of it instead of just visiting. So we did some of the touristy things, obviously. And a lot of the touristy things are, I found, like outside of the city a little bit farther. We had to take taxis a lot, and I think that also plays into how I felt about daily commute and daily life. Is you're either walking everywhere, which is fine, minus the fact that everywhere is a freaking hill or like loads of stairs. My legs, and maybe it's because I'm not in like the best shape at the moment for myself, but I was winded multiple times a day. Like these hills are no joke. I'm fine for a hill, like a hill. This is Lisbon. Like we're on this level of hills, and then this hill will come to the top, and then it's like 5 sets of stairs up, and my legs, just a 6-minute walk on flatland takes like 12 minutes here because of the hills and the stairs and the walking. So although that's probably a really dumb reason, for me it actually does play in, because I love to explore during the week. Obviously starting this YouTube channel, I want to film a lot, I want to do a lot, and so I feel like it just became strenuous. Like I probably just sound unathletic and not in shape right now complaining about this, and you know what, I'm going to accept it, and I'm gonna say that I like flatter cities. I don't like climbing hills every freaking day. That's just me. Maybe I should get myself on a treadmill again? Probably. Maybe I should do some more incline walks? Definitely. Does that mean I want my daily life to be an incline walk? No. So for me, I just didn't really enjoy all the hills and all the stairs. And then in addition to that, like I honestly saw like 3 metro stations, I think, when we're here. And I tried to look at the metro line, and it's just, I don't think it's as advanced and great as other cities are. So we ended up having to take a lot of cabs. And then when we weren't taking cabs, like, all right, there's loads of like Lime, Bolt and Bird, electric scooters, electric bikes. And it is funny because we did scooters for one day. We just scooted around and stuff, and they are super fun. Although I will say, my scooter, I was like pushing the accelerator down, and then I like let go of it because I wanted to slow down, and it got stuck, and I was just going zoom like forward. So that was a bit scary. I had to like click it out. I was like, oh my god, I'm gonna die in this thing. Luckily it didn't, but we took the scooter rides, and for the 2 of us to go on a scooter ride, like maybe the scooter ride was, I don't know, 4 minutes. It cost more for the 2 of us to rent those scooters than it did take a cab. So it's more of I think it's more of a novelty thing, like more of just a fun thing to do. It's not actually economically cheaper than it was to take a cab. But we ended up taking cabs lots of places because there's loads of places like 20 minutes outside of Lisbon, or like a little bit even farther than that. And so there's really cool monuments and things to see, but they're definitely more outside of Lisbon. And then like LX Factory, the Belém Tower, the monastery, the Monument Discoveries, I think it's called, all those things, which are definitely things to see when in Lisbon, but they are farther out. So we took a lot of cabs, and I feel like we ended up like spending a good amount of money on the Ubers or Free Nows, the app they have in Lisbon for cabs. And so we did spend quite a bit of money on cabs this week, which I was surprised about, definitely. And we still did a ton of walking. So that definitely plays into mind, where in Barcelona, for example, like the metro is so easy to use. It is everywhere. It gets you everywhere quick. You don't really have to worry about anything in terms of like needing to cabs. I only took a cab once when Harry's family was visiting, and that was it. Like we didn't take a cab the entire time, and I don't mind walking 30 minutes when it's flat. Like I said, it's probably a stupid thing to complain about, but for me it's real, okay? It is very real for me. So yeah, the size of the city was a bit small, and the setup of the city was just not for me. But again, like I said, super cute, super pretty, and I'm sure there's loads more going on in the summertime, and I definitely want to come back in the summertime. But one thing, it's funny, I posted on my story and asked people like, would you live in Lisbon? And there were people that said 100% yes, and there were people that said, nah, not for me. And some people messaged me and we were chatting about like people who spent some time here or considered living here. And one of the things that people definitely always say is the digital nomad community here is massive. And I definitely think that is a plus. It is definitely a plus to have that digital nomad community available to you, to be able to easily meet people who are living this lifestyle, who are expats. And that is absolutely a game changer for a lot of people, and that is absolutely a massive reason a lot of people live here and move here. I feel like I had a really good experience in Barcelona meeting people. I easily met people that I still talk to this day, like since we left. Obviously I haven't been gone that long, but still talk to. I'm excited to see when I get back. Like we became good friends. And so I had an easy time meeting people in Barcelona, and I found networking events and groups and all these things there. So I definitely think it was easy for me to meet people there. But I know that Lisbon is super big on the community, and because it's a smaller city, I wonder if the community is more tight-knit because you're probably closer to people, whereas Barcelona you kind of are spread out depending on where people live. Now, one thing I will say, which I was kind of surprised about, because everyone said to me that the cost of living in Portugal is lower than Spain, and it is really good. And I have to say that I found the cost of living in Lisbon to actually be more expensive than in Spain. The food is more expensive, surprisingly enough. I wasn't expecting that, not by loads, but by a couple dollars. And obviously when you go out to eat, to lunch, to dinner, that does add up for sure. Now it's gonna be the squeaking funicular coming by. There's people standing at my door screaming like, oh my god, funicular! So I'm gonna let that pass, because the squeak, you could hear it. I'm sure you can hear it going up the tram tracks. And see a little yellow thing like going by my window, which is quite cool. Although I will say our Airbnb, I genuinely thought had windows, but it has like frosted windows. Oh, I still hear a screech. it has like frosted windows, so I can actually see outside. So I have no idea when to make up like what the day looks like because there's no windows in this Airbnb. Our fault for sure, but no windows, so I can see a little like shadow of the thing going by when it does. But the cost of living is definitely just a bit more, like not significantly more, but just a couple dollars more on top of everything. Even like a beer is like €1.50 to €2 more. Wine is a little bit more expensive, and I really do like Spanish wine. But I would say those things do add up, obviously, over time when you're going out to lunch, or if you are co-working somewhere at a cafe and you obviously need to buy yourself a meal or a coffee. So the cost of living, I think, is a little bit more expensive, and the apartments. So we've been looking at apartments here to see what the prices were compared to Barcelona, and the area that the expats live is obviously nice, and it is a nicer area, and I think it's a bit newer, and so the cost of living is actually a bit higher. So most apartments that I saw online were about 1,800 to like 2,300 a month for like a 2-bedroom apartment, where in Barcelona you can get a 2-bedroom apartment for like 1,200 a month. So, you know, that's not everywhere in Lisbon. I'm sure there are definitely areas where you can get a bit cheaper, but we'd want to live in an expat area, and I'd want to live in a building that is maybe not like from 1st century BC or 2nd century BC, whatever the Lisbon date back is, because Lisbon is like one of the oldest cities in Western Europe, which I never knew that, to be honest. I thought that Lisbon was a newer city, but maybe it's just Lisbon is becoming a newer popular city, but it's actually one of the oldest. So these buildings are old, definitely old, and obviously they do things to modernize them, like this Airbnb now, which I will show you around. But you know, like I think that plays into a part. I don't want to live in a building that is that old because it's hard. You probably won't get AC, you won't get heat, which the other day our apartment was so cold when it was raining because it was cold outside, and there's like no heat in here or nothing. So that definitely plays into a part. The Wi-Fi plays into a part. With an old building, it's much harder for them to have good Wi-Fi. So we'd probably want to live in the nicer, more expat-y areas, and it was a bit more expensive. And so it's tough. Like Lisbon has a very cool feel about it, and I really did want to love Lisbon, especially because for Digital Nomads, they have a 0% tax. And so all my money is mine, all my foreign made money, which is crazy. So like it's 0% tax. And I know there are some things you do have to pay for, like it's not 0% like full stop, but I'm pretty sure it's very, very, very low. And so Spain is 15%. So let's do easy math. If I'm making 100 grand a year, I'm taking home 100 grand, maybe paying a couple fees and social things, whatever, in Lisbon. And then in Barcelona, I'm obviously paying 15 grand. So that 15 grand is definitely like, it plays on my mind, and it's definitely something to think about. But if I'm paying an extra 800 a month for an apartment, and things are like my food and stuff's a little bit more expensive, I almost wonder if it really does kind of even out for the cost of living and stuff. So it does like play on my mind, and I think that at the end of the day, like I was actually talking to my best friend about this, and I was like, oh my god, like I really do want to love Lisbon so much because it's 0% tax. Like that is so crazy, and such a good thing to go after as a digital nomad. Like my foreign income, like the income I made from America, is 0%. Like I don't have to give them money about it. But she said something to me that like really did stick, and she said, you didn't work this hard to get where you are now to make a decision for where you're living in the world based on taxes. And I was like, but 0%. And mine did say 0% to her. She's like, oh shit, well, okay, but like still. And I think it is true. I think if my heart is in a different city and my heart is in a different place, then I'm gonna need to follow that. And so I want to end this video or change the video to all the positives of Lisbon, because like I said, I'm giving my personal opinion on my personal experience, so I cannot speak for anyone else. I have friends that live here. I know people that live here and absolutely love it. It is a beautiful, wonderful city. So I'm gonna break down the list really fast because I feel like my brain went a little all over the place with my thoughts on Lisbon, pros and cons of Digital Nomad. So pros list: beautiful, really cute European city. Location, the winter is super, super mild. Like it was 17 degrees yesterday, which is like 65 Fahrenheit, and super mild winter, really, really nice summer. Portuguese people are super nice, sweet people. The Portuguese, I will say, the Portuguese custard tart, the pastel de nata, whatever it is, I could eat one of those every single day. Probably not good for you, but I absolutely could eat one every day. So good. So those are really great things. Digital Nomad community, massive, really good, really easy to meet people. Loads and loads of digital nomads here. So you will find a community very easily. There are lots and lots of co-working spaces and lots of really cute little cafes to work from and coffee shops. So you definitely will be able to find places to remote work. You'll have, you know, people to meet. I know there's loads of social events at the co-working spaces. There's loads of really cute bar areas. There's a couple of streets that we found where people definitely go out at night, and there's cute little bars. So those are definitely the pros of Lisbon in general. And then the cons for me were the size of the city is quite small. Number two, with the size of a city, it doesn't actually I don't feel like I'm in a city. I just feel like I'm like in a European built up town, if that makes sense. Where Barcelona, I feel a bit more city in the center of it. So there's that. Cons also for me was the cost of living is a bit more expensive. Like the cost for rent is more expensive in Barcelona, I found when I did my research. Because I could have not been, you know, finding the gems or what people maybe pay for less. I think if you're renting a room, you can get a room for quite cheap in Lisbon, like 400 to 500 euros a month. But I'm renting an apartment, I have a boyfriend, we don't want roommates, like we're just doing our thing. So it's just, that's a different factor for us to consider versus renting a room from somebody. So cost of living is a bit more expensive, like I said, for rent, and then for food and drinks, I found it to be a bit more expensive. Another con was the transportation methods. Like the metro just doesn't seem to be anywhere near what I thought it was going to be. Easy access to the city and stuff. My hills, you know, are my demons, so I'm not a big fan of that. And we had to take taxis everywhere, which ended up just being a bit more expensive. So mode of transportation definitely plays into a part. Also cons for me was the fact that I kind of know Spanish and I don't know any Portuguese, and so I'm a bit more out of my comfort zone with that. Not a bad thing, but I definitely just feel more comfortable being able to speak to people and understand them when they're speaking in Spanish if they don't speak English, and be able to have a conversation, whereas in Portuguese I literally can say sim, which I'm pretty sure is yes, and I hope I said that right. Don't hold me to it, and obrigado, which is thank you. Those are the only things I know, and when they actually speak to each other, I've tried listening, being like, oh, I wonder if I can like hear words. I can't. So no, I can't do it. So it's just a bit of a comfort thing for me. Obviously I can do it, I can learn Portuguese, but I just feel like I know Spanish more and way better, so that definitely plays a part for me in the decision of kind of where we want to go and where we want to live and comparing the cities. And I don't want to always compare Barcelona to Lisbon, because it's like I feel like it's comparing apples to oranges. Like they truly just aren't the same. They aren't the same type of city, so it is kind of hard to compare them, and I don't want to go back and forth on that too much. But those are like my basics of why I think there's pros to Lisbon and why there's some cons to Lisbon. And obviously you can take this video and put your own scenario and your own wants and needs and what you kind of like and what you kind of value and make a decision off that. But that was my feel. So had an amazing week, really enjoyed it. Definitely got a good calf burn, definitely ate loads of good food, but I'm gonna say, Lisbon, you're not my forever home, and that's okay, because I don't need to love places just because other digital nomads love it. And that's why I definitely want to make this video and like show you the digital nomad hubs and explain why I like them and why I don't like them. And I definitely want to do this more for 2023 and just show you more digital nomad hubs and kind of give you my opinion and my outlook. But yeah, so end of the day, I think that Lisbon's not for me. It is for me for vacation, but it's not for me for living. So with that, that was my little feedback on Lisbon. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Remember, if you've been enjoying these videos, hit the subscribe button below so you do not miss another one. There are loads coming. I got lots to show you in Lisbon. I got lots more to show you in Barcelona. Lots to show you on my application for my visa process when I start that whole thing, and life in general, all of it. So definitely hit the subscribe button. Leave a comment below too. I love chatting with you guys. Love hearing your feedback. But yeah, catch you in another video of Digital Nomad Life. See you guys.